Welcome to the session on botany in ancient India, that is Vriksha-Ayurveda. Vriksha-Ayurveda, as we had already discussed in some of the previous sessions, it is Ayurveda of the Vriksha, which deal with the Ayush, means life of Vriksha. It includes various processes of the plant growth, starting from sowing of the seeds, before sowing, treatment of the seeds, and then planting those sprouts, I mean the small plants, and then their nourishment, and even the botanical marvels also. And even we can see a lot of gardens in our surroundings. Gardens, they give pleasant mind. To have a pleasant mind, gardens help a lot. So planning the garden is also an important aspect. Upavana Prakriya, laying out a garden, is also one of the important aspect for us. Generally, in any house, we can see if there is a space, they go for the garden. Even in surrounding the buildings or in institution, we can see the gardens because they give happiness to mind. So while planting the plants in the garden, we should keep in mind which plant will give more happiness to mind. And of course, these things are being well explained by our ancient seers that such and such plants are being planted in which direction. We had already discussed those things in Shubha Vriksha. Shubha and Ashubha Vriksha to be planted. So, planting the plants which are human friendly is more important. And even our ancient saints, they had given more importance to Pushpa Puja, Phala Puja in pujas. So planting those plants which Pushpa is to be offered, which Phala is to be offered to the gods. That means it is having a spiritual touch also. So once having spiritual idea or with spirituality, when we construct a upavana or the garden, it will be more intimate to us. We will have more intimacy on that garden and we will give more care to it, care to protect it. So we shall see what was the contribution given by Surapala, one of the authors of the text Vriksha-Ayurveda, about the laying out a garden, that is Upavana Prakriya. So he says in one of the shlokas that houses are to be constructed in which the heat of the sun is obstructed by dense leaves of the trees, over which the wind scatters flowers and which are covered with the creepers of Atimuktaka, attracting agitated trees. How to construct a house I mean, how to protect the house from the rays of the sun, hot sun. Grahani. Katham Grahani Kuriyat. Grahani Katham Kuriyat. Houses are to be constructed in which the heat of the sun is obstructed by dense leaves of the trees, over which the wind scatters flowers, and which are covered with the creepers of Atimuktaka attracting agitated trees. Grihani kuriyadati muktakana latabhiralola madhuvratabi. Ghana pravalasthagitanapani vikirna pushpani samiranena. Gruhani kuryadati muktakana latabhiralola madhuvratabi. This is the shloka saying about this. Gruhani kuryadati muktakana latabhihi alola madhuvratabi. And further it is mentioned that at some place a fascinating pool is to be planned, pool or well or pushkarini is to be planned. Kvachit bhavet pushkarani manorama. Manorama pushkarini kvachit bhavet. At some place a fascinating pushkarini is to be planned, where the trees on its banks hanging down seem as if looking at their own body reflected in the water with the eyes in the form of their products, that is flowers, and which is ornamented with sweetly humming swans, the distance between the sides of the pool being the same. Vilambino yatra tatadruma vapur vilokayanti prasavekshanayriva. Vilambino yatra tatadruma vapur vilokayanti prasavekshanayriva. Samam dishantah kalaham sabhushana. Samam dishantah kalaham sabhushana kvachit bhavet pushkarani manorama. Manorama pushkarini kvachit bhavet. So pushkarini is to be planned where the trees on its banks, tata, hanging down seem as if looking at their products, its flowers, looking at the flowers, and which is ornamented with the sweetly humming swans, kalahamsa bhushana. The distance between sides, samam vishantaha. The distance between the sides of the pool being sama, the same. Then at some place, a very large, that is dirghai, that means a long lake is to be planned, in which the water is without large aquatic animals, which has easy steps for descending into it. Niryada salila Sukhawatarana tireshu pushpadruma. Kujadvihangamam satarani Tyayatam dirghika kuryat tatra samullasat kamalini patrangurashyamala shyamalochana malika. So at some place where a long or large lake is to be planned, in which the water is without large aquatic animals, and which has easy steps for descending into it, which has flower trees on the banks, which has birds cooling on its trees, and which has arrangement for the boats, which is bluish on account of the leaves and sprouts of blooming lotus, that is Kamala, which is graceful by possessing as it were blue eyes by having blue lotus, that is Nilopalani. Then at some place for pleasure, a Vapi, that is an oblong or circular reservoir of water, which on account of the transparency, that is cleanliness of its water, contains the reflection of the garden as if of a garden sunk inside the water. So the water in the pool should be so clean that the garden is reflected in the water as if it is sunk in the inside the water, which is filled as it were with the light rays of moon, and which has arrangement for draining in water. Kwachit upaniya payaha sukhaya vapi upavanamiva varimadhyamagnam vimalataya pratibimbitam dadhana. Pratibimbitam Shashikaranikarena puritaiva Shashikara Nikarena Puritaiva Kwachit Upaniya Payaha Sukhaya Vapi. Vapi means a circular reservoir or an oblong reservoir of water. So this is the, and further is also mentioned that in the middle of that garden is to be planned and a boat competing with the cold peaks of a mountain. It is mentioned as above as Veshma, competing with the cold peaks of a mountain with the Himalayas. Ventilated well and with its borders concealed by the branches, bearing fragrant flowers, flowers of trees with bent branches, and in that garden at different places, mandapas are to be planned. White as crystal and spatika, white as spatika, with ornamentation in their half portion, which are covered with plantain trees, kadali, manditam, as bowls and have gentle wind blowing through them. Madhye tasmin shishira shikhari spardhiveshma pravatam gudhopantam surabhikusumai shakibhirnam brashakhi. Sthane sthane sphatikadhavalam mandapam mandanardham Tasminnapi cha kadali manditam mandavayu. Manditam mandavayu. So in the middle of that garden, there is to be planted an abode. There is Veshma competing with the cold peaks, ventilated well and with its borders concealed by the branches bearing fragrant flowers of trees with bent branches, and in that garden at different places, mandapa are to be planked white as crystals, pratika with ornamentation in their half portion, which are covered with kadali and have gentle wind blowing through them. At some places in the garden, a kupa is to be planted. Kupam kuriyat. Kvachitapi kupam kuriyat. Full of sweet water with samishta salila bharam, full of sweet water with which all the trees are irrigated well and which is found with a heap of stones around it. Baddham Pashana Sanchayehi Paritaha. Samtikta Sakala Vitapam. Samsikta Sakala Vitapam. So that kupa which is planted in the garden, it should have sufficient water to irrigate well the trees which are present in the garden, and with a heap of stones around it. Baddham Pashana Sanchayehi Paritaha. So the garden should have water facility also, and we should not depend outside water for the garden. That is why while planting the garden, proper kupa is also to be maintained. Kupa means well. The compound of Anjana, Musta, Ushira with the powder of Naga, Koshataka and Amalaka, mix it well with the fruit of Kataka is to be administered in the well. That is for cleaning the water. Kataka phala samayuktaihi upe yoga pradatavyaha. Kataka phala samayuktaihi upe yoga pradatavyaha. The compound that is yoga, yoga, the compound of Anjana, Musta, Ushira with the powder of Naga, Koshataka and Amalaka mixed well with the fruit of Kataka that is to be administered. Tadabhya in the Kupa well. So if the water of the well is polluted, pungent, tasteless, salty, or has a foul smell, it is by this compound, yoga, becomes clean, tasteful, fragrant, and associated with many other qualities. Kalusham, Katukam, Virasam, Lavanam, Salilam, Yadi, Vashu, Bhaganti Bhavet. Tat anena bhavati amalam surasam. Tat anena amalam surasam bhavati. Amala means without mala, without impurities. Surasam. Surasam, samyak rasam bhavati. Tasteful. It becomes clean, tasteful. Sugandhi with fragrant. Gunaihi with all these qualities. So if the water of the well is polluted, pungent, tasteless, salty, or has a foul smell, by this yoga, यदि कूपे योगः पदार्थव्यः तर्हि becomes clean, tasteful, fragrant, and associated with many other qualities. So, while constructing a house, Upavana is needed. Upavana gives happiness to our mind. Our mind will become pleasant, calm when we have a round over the Upavana garden. Then planning the garden and a pushkarani in the garden is also very much important. And also having the clean water in the pushkarani is also more important. So these aspects are being observed in Upavana Prakriya. So next we shall discuss on the Upatam Bhumi Pariksha, examination of the land for purpose of digging a well. From the Pataladurdhvagamashira Prasarpanti Sarvato Dikshu Nirasya Bhumi Madhye Jnatva Kalpayet Kopam. From which region the veins of water is moving upward? Patala means from Patala, from the inner region. Veins of water which is moving upward inside the earth, spread in all the direction. Ascertaining them, one is to plan the digging of the wells. So while digging of the wells, how the water veins are moving, that is more important. So considering them, one has to dig the well. So in a waterless region, if there is a Vetasa tree, yadi vetaso amburahite, ambu means water. 3 hasta arms after that in the western region, deshe hastaihi tribihi tataha paschat. In the western region, at the depth, measuring the height of a man and its half, there is water and its vein flows there. So in a Vetasa tree, in a waterless region, if there is a Vetasa tree, there will be, it's nearing it, there is a vein, there is water and its vein flows there. So it is mentioned by Ishwara as Sardhe Purusho Toyam Vahati Shira Paschime Deshe. So the western region of the Vetasa tree at a depth measuring with the height of a man and its half, there is water and its vein flows. The sign of the presence there under the earth and at the depth of the half measure of a man, pale white frog, Mandukaha Pandurohi Mritpitha, pale white frog, yellow clay and hard stone, used for breaking nutmeg. There is an abundance of water. The sign of the presence there under the earth at the depth of the half measure of a man, if there is a pale white frog, yellow clay, and hard stone used for breaking nutmeg, there is an abundance of water. Bhavati Bahutoyaha, Bhavati Bahutoyaha, Bahutoyaha Bhavati Kutra चिन्नमपि चार्धपुरुषे मण्डूकः पाण्डुरो हि मृत्पीता पुटभेदकश्च तस्मिन् पाषाणो भवति बहुतो यः जम्बुवृक्षस्य प्राक् वल्मीको यदि भवेत् समीपस्थः. To the east, to the east of Jambu, there is an anthill nearby. Then in its south direction, Jambuvrukshyasya prak, Valmiko yadi bhavet samipastha, tasma dakshina pashve. Then its south direction under the earth at a depth measuring the height of 2 persons, there is good water. Salilam Purushadvaye Sadhu. Salilam Purushadvaye Sadhu. There is good water. Kutra Jambuvrukshyasya prak Valmiko yadi bhavet samipastha. Jambuvrukshyasya prak samipastha yadi Valmikha bhavet. Valmika means anthill. Tasma dakshina parshve Purushadvaye Sadhu Salilam. Water. So, and further about the water, Upartham Bhumi Pariksha, underneath the earth, at a depth measuring half a man, the presence of a fish and stone resembling the color of a pigeon. And the soil that is becoming blue, much water for a long period. Ardhapurushe chamatsyaha paravata sannibhascha pashanaha mradbhavati tatra nila dirgham kalam cha bahutoyam. Bahutoyam dirghakalam bhavati kutra. Ardhapurushe cha matsyaha paravata sannibhascha pashanaha mrit bhavati tatra nila dirgham kalam cha bhutoyam bhavati tasmin pradeshe. Tasmin pradeshe dirghakalam bhutoyam bhavati. Underneath the earth, in that measuring half a man, the presence of fish and stone resembling the color of a kapota. Ardhapurusho cha matsyaha paravata sannibhascha pashanaha mritbhavati tatra nila dirgham kalam cha bhutoyam. Then inland by measurement 3 hasta to the south of a tree of Nirgundi, which is overgrown by an anthill. Valmikopachitaya Nirgundya Dakshina Karatrayonmani Purushadvaye Sapade Bhavati Jalam Swaduchashesha. There also water, that is water which is tasty and inexhaustible. Bhavati Jalam Swaducha Ashesham. Where Valmika Upachitaya Nirgundya Dakshina Karatrayon Mani पुरुषद्वये सपदे तत्र स्वादुजलं भवति यत् च आशीषम्. Then रोहितमत्स्यो अर्धनरे मृते कपिला पाण्डुरा ततः परतः सिक्ताः सशर्कराश्च क्रमेण पुरुतो भवत्यम्भः. पुरुतो भवति अम्भः. Amba means water. So under the earth, at a depth measuring half a man, Purusha, if there is an order of a fish of Rohita Matsya, then there is red brown clay, white pale clay, Kapila, Pandura, Mrata. After that, sand containing gravel, Siktaha, Sashakkarascha, Kramena, Puratu, Bhavati, Amba. Sand containing gravel, immediately there is water. Then further it is mentioned that if there is seen an anthill to the east of a badari tree, Purvena yadi badariya, and at the depth of 2 man and a half, a white Grihabodhika is found. Then to the west of that badari tree, at the depth of 3 man, the existence of water is found. यदि वल्मीको दृश्यते जलं पश्चात् पूर्वेण यदि बदर्यां वल्मीको दृश्यते जलं पश्चात् पुरुषैः त्रिभिः आदेश्यं श्वेता गृहबोधिका अर्धनरे. Then if in a waterless place a badari tree is found along with the palasha tree, there is water under the earth at a depth of 3 men and a half. Here the indication is the presence of Dundubha, Chinnam, a kind of water snake, Dundubha, a kind of water snake, at the depth of a man under the earth. Sapalasha badari chet. If in a waterless place a badari tree is found along with palasha tree, then there is water under the earth at a depth of 3 men and a half. The indication is the presence of a Dundubha, which is a kind of water snake. Then if in a place an anthill is seen on or near Kashtodumbarika tree, there underneath the earth at a depth of 3 men and a half, Purushatraye Sapadi, a water vein situated in a western direction. Paschima Dikstha Savahati. Valmiko Drishyate Shira Tasmin Purushatraye Sapadi Paschima Dikstha Savahati. So if in the south side of a Vibhitaka tree, an anthill is situated nearby, Asanno Valmiko Dakshina Parshve Vibhitakasya yadi. In its eastern direction, Pratyam, underneath the earth at a depth of half a man, a water vein is to be known. Then, if in the western direction of the same tree, that is Vibhitaka tree, at a distance of Hasta, There is an anthill at that place under the earth at a depth of 4 men, Chaturbhihi, and 4 men and a half, Chaturbhirabdhanikaihi, Purushihi. There flows a vein of water. Tatrodakasravati Shira, Tatrodakasravati Shira, Kutra Tasyaiva Paschimāyāṁ Dishi Valmīki, Valmīko Yada Bhavati Asti. Tasya ityukte Vibhita-tasya. So if in the western direction of the Vibhitaka tree at a distance of Hasta, there is an ant hill at that place. That means at the under the earth of the same place at a depth of 4 men and a half, there is a water vein. The indication is the presence of depth of 1 man of white scorpion or reptile, Vishwambharakaha, then of the color of saffron. A vein of water flows in the other, that is western direction, then it disappears after 2 years have passed. So this is how they are diagnosed about the water veins near different trees. So a wise man should follow proper methods to be well understanding these symptoms. At a place well to the northeast of a Kovidara tree, there is an anthill along with Kusha and with Sita. There between the two, the tree and the anthill under the earth, at a depth of 5 men and a half, Pancha Ardha. Kovidarasya Sakushaha Sita Yaihi Shanyam Valmiko Yatra Kovidarasya. There at a depth of 5 men and a half, there is inexhaustible water. So at a place where to the northeast of that Kovidara tree, there is an anthill, Valmiko Yatra. Along with the Kusha and with the Sita, Sakushaha, Sita, and with Sita. Sita is Shanyam. Under the earth, at a depth of 5 men and a half, there is inexhaustible water. The presence under the earth at a depth of 1 mana, snake, resembling the color of the lotus calyx, red clay and ruby stones, these are to be considered as indications for water. The place where the soil contains Munjika, Maunjavaihi, Kashakushaischa Yukta, Nila Chamradyatra Sasharkara Cha, Tasyam Prabhuram Surasam Chatoyam, Tatra Prabhutam Surasam Chatoyam Bhavati, Krishna Thavayatra Cha, Tiktam Vakka. So these are the places where Surasatoya is present. Sasharkaratam Brahmahi Kashayam, a copper colored earth which is full of gravels, yields water astringent in taste. Ksharam Dharitri Kapila Karoti, the red brown earth yields water, blackish in taste, brackish in taste. Ksharam Dharitri Kapila Karoti. Apandurayam lavanam pradishtam. In pale white water salty in taste. Istampayoni lavasundharaya. In a blue earth, there is sweet water. So, Sashakaratam Brahmahi Kashayam Charam Dharitri Kapila Karoti Apandurayam Lavanam Pradishtam Ishtam Payoni Vasundharayam. These are the different methods mentioned for Kupa Pariksha, as where we will get which kind of water and the places wherein water source is available. Near land here, near different trees, how the water source is available is well explained in this Kupartham Bhumi Pariksha chapter by Surapanda. So it's a nice explanation given by him. So even today also we can see some people, they saying there is water near the anthill and near certain trees. So these were recognized even in olden days, and they recorded in the books, in the text, what they had composed. Even today, those things are said to be true. Next, we shall see about the ascertainment of the production of the crop of grains, production of crop of grains and others. That is Anadi Nishpatti. In Vriksha Ayurveda, it is mentioned about the production of the crop. This crop is also very much important for our survival. Our food grains, they are also very much needed. The barley is produced abundantly by the growth of Nyagrodha tree, and Sashtika rice is abundantly produced by the growth of Sindhuka tree, and by the growth of Ashwatha tree is to be known the abundant production of all the crops. By the growth of Jambu tree, there is an abundant production of Sthalamashas. By the growth of Shirisha tree, there is an abundant production of Sthalamashas. By the growth of Shirisha tree, there is an abundant production of Modga. And by the growth of Madhuka tree, there is an abundant production of wheat. And by the growth of Shadaparna, there is an increase in the production of the barley. So by the growth of different trees, production of different food grains is mentioned. By the growth of Hastikarna trees, abundance of elephant. By Ashwakarna, that of the horses. By Patala, that of the cows. And by Kadali, that of the goats is mentioned. So, and also by the growth of mango trees, there is welfare in the country. So, mango, Prasada, Ambraksha, Ambraikshemam, Bhallatakai Bhayam, Pilubhistatharogyam, Khadirashami Bhyam Durbhikshamarjune Shobhana Prashtihi. So by the growth of the mango tree, there is a welfare in the country. By Bhallataka, there will be fear. And by Pilu, freedom from diseases. By Khadira and Shami, there will be famine, Dubhiksha. And by Arjuna, there will be pleasing rains. Arjune Shobhana Vrishti. Then by the abundance of flowers of Pichumanda and Nagakesara, there is famine. Pichumanda Nagakusumai Durphiksham Kapitena Marmarutaha, and by the growth of Kapita, there are storms, and by the growth of Nikula, there is fear of drought, and also there is fear of diseases. So like this, he is mentioning about the hazard time, about the production of crops of grains with different trees. So here we can see that all different trees such as Jambuvihi Stalamashaha, Shirisha Vradhya Chamugganishpatihi, Shirisha Vradhya Mugganishpati, Godhumascha Madhukaihi, Yavavruddhihi Saptaparnena. So that means for different greens, planting different plants is useful. There is some resemblance and such a relationship need to be studied. Is it true? What kind of relations those plants have with particular cereals? And also about even with the animals also, Surapala is referring that by the growth of Hastikarna tree, it is indicated for the abundant animals. Karinascha Hastikarnaihi Nirdeshya Vajino Karnena. And by the Ashwakarna, abundance in horses. Then Gavischa Patalavihi, by Patala, that of the cows, and also Gadavihi Ajavikam Bhavati, and by the plantain, that of the abundance in goats. So what kind of relationship these plants have with particular grains, with particular crops is really interesting. So today we need to analyze those things to have maximum production of the crops. So there are a lot of information available in Vriksha Ayurveda, different aspects what our ancient seers or ancient people had observed and recorded in their text. So by studying all these things, what we can get is we can have the proper knowledge about agriculture, how they can be used in agriculture, what is its relevance even today, how they are relevant, how we can implement them, in what way they will be useful. So by studying these things, we can have good, not only knowledge, but also practical exposure. With the best of the past, we can have more best for the future. So past knowledge should be a lesson for us to have better future. So that is why even ancient scientific knowledge, what they have recorded in the text is understood, and if possible, we can use them for our growth, development, nourishment, prosperity. As far as agriculture is concerned, we have the text called Krishi Parashara, which is written by Parashara Muni. It is text on ancient Indian agriculture, which is supposed to be composed in the 4th century AD. And this Krishi Parashara text, it consists of 243 shloka. Knowledge of agriculture, knowledge of agriculture and knowledge of Ayurveda both will help us for better agriculture. So this Krishi Parashara, it gives various aspects of ancient Indian agriculture, which the contents of the Krishi Parashara, it includes, Krishi Parashara is a text grantha, include importance of agriculture, rainfall, management of agriculture, the cattle and its management, plough and other implements, seed collection and preservation, farm operations, harvesting and storage, etc. Trees were also used in agricultural implements. Trees were also being used in agricultural implements, domestic appliances, tools, weapons, items of furniture, part of houses, vehicles, and conveyances. So the application of trees or the use of trees in ancient days is also being observed for agricultural implements, domestic appliances, tools, weapons, items of furniture, part of houses, vehicles, and conveyances. So this is very much interesting, really. The Ayurveda along with the agriculture aspects for our better prospects in social science or environmental science, because environment is very much needed for our better living, healthy living. So for healthy living, all these things are needed. Not only healthy living, but also to have good, healthy, organic food products. So the food preparation or the production of food products is also very much important, and for the production of food products, proper knowledge of Ayurveda, proper knowledge of Krishi is very much important. So with the knowledge of what the contribution given by ancient Indians, means our ancestors, with that knowledge we can have, and also along with the ancient knowledge, with the modern scientific knowledge, the mingling of the two will give the best. We can produce the best. So that is why I hope this knowledge will help us a lot for better future. Thank you, and we shall discuss further about in the next sessions. Dhanyawada.